By the way, if you don't want to have meat rabbits, you don't have to. For the first 2 years that we had them on our homestead back home, I didn't butcher anything. We had moms, we kind of experimented a little bit with breeding. We sold the babies or we extended more cages. It wasn't until John hurt his back and I didn't feel capable of raising the large animals with everything else I was doing that I actually started breeding them for meat. And it was just because it was what I could afford. I had food in the greenhouse to feed the rabbits. I had tree clippings. I had so much abundant food for rabbits. That's when I switched to really intense rabbit breeding and butchering. So if you love them just because you love them, you don't have to butcher them. Okay, so there's the hanging of the rabbit hutches, one kind of ghetto and the other one done correctly. You see both sets of rabbits are equally happy. The one thing is that I do really like the drop-down nest box. I feel like it gives them privacy. I feel like when she does have babies, she will have greater chances of success. But the other one is okay too. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, I get the cage wire from True Value. Apparently Tractor Supply carries it too, but I did like the discounts that I got from True Value, and you can have it shipped into the True Value that you have locally. And I hope that wasn't an egg. Oh, I thought it was an egg I stepped on. And then I got the rest of the parts, like the guards on the doors that protect you and the rabbit from getting scratched. I got those from bunnyrabbit.com, or is it Bunny Rabbits? It could be bunnyrabbits.com, but that's where I got everything from. And the feeders and the waters and everything else were significantly less expensive than getting them at a local pet store, if the pet store even had them. Okay, so it would be nice to be able to use these, but we can't use them yet. It's still too cold at night. They would freeze. We don't want to waste them, but I really like these because they have the flip tops, so that if you have kids that need to be able to be getting in and out of them, they can just fill them instead. Because with the other ones, if you don't fill them up to the very top, they don't work, and if you squeeze in too much, they don't work, and you end up with a very hot rabbit in the middle of summer who doesn't have water. So I kind of like to have these plus the dishes inside the cages. This mama who already has the drop-down cage is spotless. There's absolutely nothing in here that is dirty. She's pooping in the back corner. Hi, Mama. Where are you? She's pooping in the back corner. She stays in this little nest box when she's not eating. She's just really happy there. I would imagine that she gets up and she's more active at night because that's when rabbits are active. And we still don't have a buck, so we are not able to breed currently. But because we're going to be traveling so much this spring, I'm a little concerned about having babies anyway because I don't really have anybody to do chores for me. All my friends are in like Broken Arrow or even further away, or they work full-time jobs. How would they get here? Is there anything else I'm supposed to tell you? Not that I can remember. Make sure to go check out my Pinterest. I have so many boards of so many different homesteading things that amaze and fascinate me. It's where I get a lot of my ideas from, is Pinterest. So go check out my Pinterest boards, specifically my how to homestead on a budget. Did I just let my chickens out? I did. Kids have stolen all of my box building bricks, and they're making a fort. Being in a rental and not feeling like you can play in your dirt, that the landlord doesn't want the dirt messed up. This kind of bed that I've built could actually be built on concrete if you built it deeply enough with enough carbon and mulch and everything underneath it. So this is the one that I already built, and it just has bricks and remate on it to protect it from cats. And I just took some wire and built little supporting cages for it. So this could be pulled up, the bricks could be taken away, the dirt can be put into compost. It's not a big deal. I could have built it out of lumber. But I didn't have that much lumber. And the landlord actually would have preferred that I was using bricks. So it works well for me. And you can see the remate on it lets it breathe, it lets rain in, but it still protects from birds, it protects from squirrels, it protects from cats pooping in it, so I really like it. This is the one that I'm currently building. And I'm putting down layers of cardboard and then I'm putting boxes inside because this is where I'm going to put some more comfrey. And again, you can see the little playhouse that Paige and the neighborhood kids built in about an hour and a half last night, so I'm pretty proud of them. But because it doesn't look like they're actually using this, I think I'm going to steal a few bricks and see if I can't finish my grow bed so that I can get my comfrey planted. So this is what's known as a lasagna garden, and the reason for that is that you're layering carbon and nitrogen and paper and anything else that's organic and will degrade, that doesn't have poison in it. You're going to layer it in your garden bed, and you don't have to have a bed to keep it, but I like to have a bed because it holds all the goodness in, and I like to plant into boxes so that it gives whatever I'm planting so much of a head start on weeds that the weeds can't come up. Even if they get through the cardboard, they can't come up because now the overstory, the growth of whatever I planted is so large that there's no sun and no nutrition for a new weed. So this is what mine looks like. I have used rabbit manure and cardboard and leaves and now chicken manure, and I'm going to put some wood mulch on top of it before I plant anything with soil on the top, and that's so that by the time the roots of any plants get down to that hot chicken manure, it will have kind of worn itself out by trying to break down the cardboard. So nitrogen gets used up by carbon, the bacteria in the manure breaks down the carbon, and then the nitrogen gets used up doing that. So it balances things out. One thing I really like to do is plant something with big roots that grows very quickly, something like comfrey, because sorry, my nose is a little runny. It's still a little cold out here. Because what happens is as it gets big, I can cut it and lay it down as more mulch, as more food for that bed. And what that does is it now allows whatever was small to suddenly take off because now there's sunlight. And so it's kind of a cut and drop process where as I put new things in, I will cut back the comfrey, and then the comfrey will come back, and I will allow them to have balance in the bed. So. I would like to point out right now that I'm not putting anything edible in the ground. Does that make sense? I'm putting comfrey in right now. This bed is not deep enough to fully compost and heat up that chicken manure, and I do not do this if it's going to have greens or something else that's going to be in the ground touching raw manure. That's what the hotbeds are for. The hotbeds get hot enough, and then I generally put a really deep layer of mulch between any fresh manure and the actual soil that I plant seeds into. Okay, everybody brush their teeth?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all our breakfast.
Do you have breakfast?
Yeah. Okay. Come on. Love you.
Love you. Have fun. So these are the roots that Marsh Creek Farmstead sent me. And I usually get seeds and start them from scratch as true comfrey, which is supposedly the safe one to get if you're going to use it internally for people. These ones are the Russian Bocking 14. And because I have so much carbon in here, I can plant them in with no problem. But usually I would go to medicinal, strictly medicinal herbs and get their comfrey if I was going to get roots. But Marsh Creek Farmstead was so much faster and so much cheaper. And he sent them to me now because he's in California. The ground's not frozen, so the ground here isn't frozen either. Here's a really big one. Alright, so I don't know if you guys can see that, but that is what I usually call junk seeds. They're from the local hardware store, but they sell them for 10 cents a packet, and so I had a friend that dropped them off. There's nothing really wrong with them at all. They're just not new seeds, so they're perfect for early season plantings. Just make sure you put them in really nice and thick, because a lot of times their germination rate is not fantastic. So I put them in really nice and thick, cover them up. Yes, I am putting them in with the comfrey because it's going to take that comfrey a bit to come up, and we might as well have food. So probably my biggest shortcoming is that I like to plant really thickly. I like to have a really thick harvest. And especially this time of year in this area, I guess, probably not home yet. At home I start doing that in about April and May. I start planting really thickly. Here I'm starting now because we're getting reasonably warm weather. And again, I have all these seeds that just need to be put in the ground and used instead of having to sit in a box. And there's another one I need to put in. Good thing I'm doing this actually, because a lot of those were just sitting out on the surface. I always feel a little guilty though when I plant this thickly, like, oh, you're wasting it. But the reality is, what's wasting it is if they never get to live, if they just stay in that packet saved for another day when somehow they would be more important than they are now. Oh, there's another one. There's no more important time than the now to plant a garden. And if these were the Michigan Gardener seeds, I would not be planting them so thickly because they germinate just fine. But I had so many of these that needed to be used up, I did not order any peas from Michigan Gardener. The reason to put the wood mulch up is so that it doesn't beat up on the peat moss. Peat moss is renowned for, you know, acting as like a shield against water rather than absorbing it. And also, when I water, it will keep the peat moss from, you know, spattering, moving, and exposing the seeds. So that's, and back home what I would do like that would be to sprinkle straw on it. But I like the wood chips better because they don't have any sprays in them. So those peas should come up within the next few days. We'll watch and see. The comfrey might take a little bit longer, but I'm pretty excited. And I kind of think I need to maybe get some more mulch put into the raised beds so that I can get them planted too. Okay, so the reason I do this is to keep rabbits and squirrels from eating the seeds or the plants. The shade cloth is temporary for now until it warms up a little bit more. It'll just protect them. It's a frost cloth. So as soon as we start to get warmer, what I'll do is I'll build the wire cage over it that I used back home that just lifts off. But for now, until things come up, this is the best option. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. The kids are building a clubhouse. You can hear them fighting in the background. I am trying to get some ebooks up talking about these things in a nutshell. And make sure to go over to Facebook. Try and get a little closer so you can hear me. Go over to Facebook if you'd like to see Catherine. She writes a newspaper article on homesteading in New Mexico. We stayed with her a little bit while we were in Silver City. And she is amazing, and she is helping me with my Facebook page now, so make sure to go check out Dirtpatcheaven on Facebook. And we'll talk to you later. Okay, we got a pretty good amount of ice everywhere. We had an ice storm. I don't know if we're gonna see anything in there. Oh, there's some comfrey. So, it's doing its job. Keeping bunnies out, keeping squirrels out, keeping frost out a little bit. Even the mulch is really icy. But you can see everything in there is just fine. I don't really want to open it very bad. So I'm going to try and get it through here. What I can, yeah. See that ice? Ice baby. The plastic is warm to the touch. So I should be okay to open this, but you can see basil alive. Little teeny tiny radishes and cabbages and other things are alive. Nettles are alive. Carrots are alive. All of this was just a test trial run type of a thing. Peas and radishes are fine in the back. The onions look a little bit less happy. And the comfrey in that box hasn't even come up, which I don't know why it doesn't come up. That sad one in the middle that's still alive is basil and tomatoes. So, everybody's doing okay. Very icy. Make sure everything's held down. There we go. Happy, happy, happy. This is how frozen it is. I can't open that up. I kind of wanted to open it up and anchor it a little better. Looks like somebody took the brick off, but I can't because it is frozen solid.